Okay, folks, that's at 8 o'clock now, so we want to be respectful of your time, so we're going to get going straight away. So, yeah, if you've just joined us, welcome along to tonight's webinar. I'm John Wilson of propertyinvestmentblueprint.com, and tonight we're really excited to have Mark Barrow with us, who is the creator of Property Investor Toolkit. Title of tonight's webinar is Deal or No Deal, How to Avoid Expensive Mistakes and Save Bags of Time by Having Your Computer Do Your Property Due Diligence For You. Long title, bit of a mouthful, but just about gets across the idea of the software. It's certainly something that I wish I had had at my disposal when I got started in property, because you know, it's always good to have a second opinion on a given property deal, and even a second opinion from a computer who is very unlikely to make mistakes on figures is going to be even more valuable for you. So without further ado, I'll welcome Mark. Are you there, Mark?
Hello. How are you? Can you hear me, John?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Fantastic.
We've had some feedback from the listeners now. I think they can hear us as well. So, folks out there, if you want to just give us a shout in the Q&A box, let us know who you are and where you're from. Just pop your name and where you're from in the box there, and we'll say hi to you a bit later on. So, just going to share Mark's screen, and Mark's going to take you through a little introduction about himself and the sort of inspiration behind the software. Then we'll get into a bit of a demo, and I'll come back on at that point. So I'll just swap over to Mark. There we go. So if you want to crack on then, Mark.
Fantastic. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you all very much indeed for giving up your valuable time to join us. Just want to check you can see this screen okay?
Yeah, I can see it, Mark. I think
you can see it. Good. Excellent. Fantastic.
Coming up on the broadcast.
So this is me. Okay, so John, are you going to do this a little bit?
If you could just crack on, Mark, because I can't see the slides. The slide hasn't up refreshed yet. So if you just carry on.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Or who am I? Basically, well, just a little bit of an intro. I don't want to bore you with my life story, but just a kind of bit of a back history. I went self-employed when I was 19. Had absolutely no idea what I was going to do, but I did know for absolute certainty that I didn't want to work for somebody else. So went self-employed at 19. Ran various small kind of enterprises over a few years, and then basically I kind of ended up doing a kind of part-time sort of door-to-door salesman job, if you like. Anyone that's based in the West Country may have heard of a newspaper called the Western Daily Press, and they were looking for canvassers basically to go out knocking on doors and selling the newspaper. So I kind of sort of got involved in that, but I very quickly realized that actually I didn't want to be out knocking doors. I wanted to be the one sat in a nice warm car driving around between the teams. So I started as a canvasser. I then rewrote their marketing so about 6 months or so. I became their sort of head trainer, as it were, training other people to go out on the doorstep, selling the Western Daily Press. That then kind of sprungboard into contacts in the newspaper world, and I built a small courier company based around delivering newspapers. So we were handling quite a lot of the newspaper distribution for most of Cheltenham and a part of Gloucester. So we were delivering newspapers to shops to resell, and we were also controlling distribution of a lot of the freebie newspapers that were going out at that time. So I've had 3 vans, 4 full-timers, and a network of over 300 distributors spread out across Cheltenham, a little bit, and Gloucester. It was all ticking along very nicely, and I'd always had a passion for art. And at that point, things were going quite well, and I had what was laughingly referred to as a sort of a monthly income of a couple of £100 a month. So I started buying small drawings and that sort of thing. And the more I did, the more I kind of realized actually there's probably a business in this. So I started sort of trekking around the country, buying things, sticking them in the boot of the car, then driving them up to London very often, and sending them to other dealers. And I thought, right, okay, well, we could probably do something with this. And it kind of coincided with a moment in time, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably experienced as well, where suddenly the rug was pulled from under my feet. So the distribution company had built up. It wasn't huge, but you know, it built up and it was going quite well. But then our main contractor, who was Northcliffe, based at Staverton, they had a young whiz kid that came in and decided that actually he didn't need outside contractors. He could actually form his own delivery team and do it all in-house. So pretty much overnight I lost the main contract that we'd had for about 4 years. So that really made me on where we wanted to go next, and I decided that the fine art was something that I really wanted to do. I set up a website, basically. At the time, this is going back about 15 years now, and this was at a time where the web was pretty much in its infancy, and certainly in the fine art business, you know, a lot of people hadn't even heard of the internet. So I set up a website and we started dealing in small drawings and prints and things like that, and gradually grew that business. Then moved to London and we opened our first gallery in the West End. We did a number of shows there, quite successful shows, including a critically acclaimed show called Brit Art of the 60s, which interestingly we were ahead of our time when we did it sort of 6-7 years ago, because pop art, as it's called, is now coming back really big time. In fact, Christie's, who have just opened a new gallery in the West End, their first show was all about pop art and art of the 60s. So that was all ticking. Hit September 2007. I'm sure some of you, certain people who had their own businesses at that point, can remember that period very vividly. I mean, we were dealing in high-end luxury, so of course our business got hit quite hard. Luckily, I'd taken a break clause in the lease on the property that we had in the West End, and I gave notice in the March of 2007 on a 3-year break clause. And when I handed the keys back in September, it was just a couple of weeks till the whole world collapsed. So we had a little bit of a lucky escape there. It was during that period as well that I first started getting interested in property. And we did a few renovations. We concentrated on doing quite high-level stuff, and that was ticking along again, as I say, until 2007. And I found the next project. We just finished a project, which is basically the one that you see in the centre of the screen there, and I went to the bank. Up to that point, I'd only had to ring the bank, and they basically said, yes, no problem at all, we'll have the paperwork ready, just drop in when you've got time and sign. And I thought, yeah, this is fantastic, so we'll just move across and we'll do property full time. and I found the next project and rang the bank, and they went, no. And so that kind of put a halt on everything as well in 2007. I don't know how many of you guys out there were actually full-time in property at that period, but I'm sure, again, a little bit like anyone that was running a business at that point, you know, it was a little bit of a shock that everything had basically ground to a halt. So, well, obviously there are people who are out there making a full-time living at doing this, so I need to get some education, basically. So I did some courses. I'm sure some of you guys have kind of signed up and done various courses and webinars and seminars and bits and pieces. Which were really good. The actual support material that came with the courses was fairly rudimentary. You know, bits of spreadsheet. It was all still kind of pen and paper, and sort of not really connected. So it was all very disconnected and disjointed, which was very frustrating. And I very quickly found that when I started on this course of becoming a professional property investor, I got overwhelmed. I got complete and utter overwhelm. There was just so much stuff coming in so many different formats from so many different angles that I didn't kind of quite know which direction to turn in. It sort of felt like walking up a path and finding like a dozen different avenues that you could walk down, and not knowing what the hell to do or which one was the best to do. And the more people I spoke to during, it was quite a common frustration. So I started designing something that was going to work for me. I didn't want to be particularly focused on the process. So I didn't want to consciously think about process of going through evaluating a property and looking at all those bits and pieces, but consciously thinking about the process each and every single time. The more people I spoke to, as I say, I found it was quite a common frustration, and they were going away and designing something that worked for them. And I thought, well, you know, if I'm doing it and they're doing it, it seems a bit odd that, you know, there's nothing out there that we could all just tap into straight away. And I actually spent quite a long time searching on the web for a solution. And all I could find really were software solutions that helped you manage property once you owned it, but nothing out there which actually helped you get to the stage of buying the property in the first place. And so that's kind of basically where Toolkit was born. So Toolkit's been nominated as well this year. I mean, we're extremely honoured to be nominated as a finalist in this year's Innovation Award for the Landlords and Lettings. We'll know the result next week, so fingers crossed. But just being a finalist and being nominated in such a prestigious award is actually really good confirmation that what we've created is of true value. So, what exactly is Property Investor Toolkit? Okay, well, in a nutshell, Property Investor Toolkit is an intuitive, user-friendly deal analyzer software designed to help you make the right investment choices and avoid the cost mistakes so many other investors still regularly make. But it's more than that. What I wanted to do when I designed Toolkit was to create effectively a complete back-end office solution for deal analysis and deal management. And so we've got a load of other features in there. I won't bore you with now because we're going to do a demo very shortly, and I'll spin you through everything in Toolkit, and hopefully as we go through the demo, that'll show you some of the functions that we actually have in the toolkit, which will help you in your business and in moving forward. So, who's Toolkit for? Well, anybody who is serious about making a career in property. So, what I wanted to do was design something that, I mean, basically, I hate reading manuals. I'm sure loads of the guys in the audience tonight will kind of affiliate that. Some of the girls. Girls are much better at actually reading instructions than guys. Guys like to think, well, I know how to do it, I don't need the instructions. It's kind of IKEA furniture thing. We never look at the instructions, we just pull all the pieces together and then hope we can work it out. So I kind of want to Toolkit that you didn't have to take special training, investment training, and a lot of investment training is not cheap. Certainly, I know the course was not cheap, but the value was, of course, but I wanted to make sure that Toolkit was something that was really intuitive, that people could pick up right from day one. So Toolkit was designed with a cross-section of people in mind. So if you are a newbie investor, or you've maybe done 1 or 2 properties and you're looking to kind of move into it more full-time, Toolkit was definitely designed so that you didn't have to take extra specific training to use and to utilize your education. But equally, I wanted to make sure that it was of real value to professional investors who are already out there and have a portfolio. So I wanted to make sure that we provided enough in Toolkit for you guys to be able to up your game, basically, to really concentrate on your business and to streamline and grow that business. Part of property investing, of course, is deal packaging and deal sourcing. And so we've got some pretty cool tools in Toolkit which will help you be able to package and source deals really quickly and really easily. Some of the people within the past, I don't know whether any of you guys out there are familiar with Lindsay Hopkins or have seen him speak at any of the events that kind of go out and about. Really good guy. If you don't know him, he runs a brokerage called Trafalgar Square. They're based in Wandsworth in London, but they work with clients across the entire country. Extremely savvy business guy. He runs 6 businesses, as well as the brokerage. But if you don't know Lindsay, feel free to ping me through John at the end, and I'll very happily give you Lindsay's details. But he's, you can see there in what he's very kindly said, that he uses basically Toolkit now with all his coaching clients, and he specializes in creative finance, so different ways to fund portfolio and fund property buying. It fits with very well for him with his clients. Vicky Wauchet, some of you I'm sure probably know Vicky, or definitely have seen Vicky speak at Berkshire or one of the other events. She again uses Toolkit now with her mentees, I beg your pardon, because she is a mentor, professional mentor. And interestingly, she was voted recently the 21st most influential person in UK property today by The Telegraph. Some of the other people in that list included the head of the Bank of England, the Chancellor, the PM, and all these people. And Vicky was voted 21st. I'm not going to big Vicky up, but if you haven't met Vicky, she's a wonderful person. She's got a fantastic drive and incredibly knowledgeable person. But she now, as she's explained there, she now uses Toolkit with her mentees. Okay, so why would you actually need it? Okay, so you probably have some spreadsheets, you probably have some bits and pieces that you've used, but again, it's probably not connected. It's probably a little bit like an old typewriter. How many people use an old typewriter, a kind of bang, thud, thud key typewriter? Nothing wrong with that. Does exactly what it should do. You know, you can write letters, you can write reports, you can do all the bits and pieces that you normally would do, but why is it that we don't use that technology anymore? The simple answer is that basically when the word processor came along, it effectively allowed you to save documents. That's the difference between an old thud, 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 click, click, click typewriter and a word processor. Of course, a word processor and certainly the technology we have now allows for lots of pretty things like creating documents and all that sort of stuff. But at its heart, a word processor, the advantage of a word processor over an old typewriter is that basically you can save documents, you can open those documents, you can edit those documents, and you can then reuse those documents. So Toolkit basically, Toolkit is basically a kind of word typewriter. I mean, to give you an example, I'm probably already know, but you know, if you're looking to invest in property, you probably have to offer on well over 100 properties, and in this climate, probably even more so. That's a huge amount of data to store and process. So unless you have really robust systems in place and you have really robust filing, that's pretty much a full-time job to manage. On an ongoing basis, especially if, like me, you're not the most organized person in the world. So that's only going to get really more complicated and much worse as the property market hots up. And we've all seen in the press over certainly the last couple of months or so, you know, how much the market has really escalated. So finding the right deal moving forward is going to become much harder, and basically it's going to take much, much longer. So you're going to have to process a lot more information moving forward. And that's why having a really good, robust system in place is going to be absolutely key to your ongoing success. And that's basically where Property Investor Toolkit can really help you. Property Investor Toolkit's been designed to not only save you valuable time and money, but also to help you create valuable time and money. As the slide says, it's there also to help you avoid bad deals by having the for you. And what does that mean? It basically, as John said in his introduction, it takes the emotion out of evaluating a deal. The system obviously is non-emotive, whereas obviously people are and can be influenced by those emotions, however strong they may feel they are. So what Toolkit is basically designed to do is to give you the raw data. So you put the data in, and it throws the results back and in a totally dispassionate way. So it's there really as certainly as a hand-holding tool to help people through the process, but also to make you really concentrate on the raw facts. Does this deal work? Does it fit with your strategy? Is the bottom line, basically. Time that you can create, the more opportunity that you can create, and the more opportunity you can create, the more deals you can then find, and obviously that then leads into a greater return for yourself. So the idea of Toolkit is obviously to kind of basically create as much time to make the process as simple and as quick as possible for you, and actually find the deals. Because, as I say, as the market hots up, you're going to have to do more and more and more of that moving forward. So you don't really want to be then thinking about the system that handles all of that and to its own. Toolkit's also been designed as a cloud solution, so it's really easy for you to share with your, well, basically with your team or with a business partner. So, for example, if you can imagine being able to share a potential deal with your broker and then run through the details of that deal in real time so that the broker can actually see the details and walk you through it, talk you through it, go, well, actually, you know, there's this mortgage product that might fit your deal, but we need to look at this, we need to tweak that, we need to do this. You know, that will speed the whole process up, just as an example. So, you know, you could potentially get a mortgage, a DIP or a mortgage approval literally within minutes. So if you're working with your broker in real time, using Toolkit as the source, then you could actually just package the thing up where the mortgage broker could just go, right, yeah, that works for this mortgage, that works for this deal, let's put it forward. Also, just out of interest, how many of you are currently working with JV partners, or you're looking to raise JV partner funding? Again, Toolkit's been designed really so that it gives you a real professional edge. So if you can imagine, if you're looking to work with a JV partner or in a meeting with a JV partner, just imagine how powerful it'd be to stress test that deal live during that meeting, simply by clicking a few buttons. How professional would that make you look? How much credibility would that bring to your proposal over somebody else who's still pen and paper, bits of spreadsheet, have to open different programs here, there, and everywhere? You know, literally within seconds, you can stress test a deal during a meeting. You know, how much more confident do you think somebody who is looking to part with their money and work with a business partner would be in working with you if you had a professional piece of kit instead of, as I say, bits of paper and bits and pieces like that? Toolkit's also designed to help you create extra sources of income. It was really important for me when I started designing Toolkit that it wasn't just a complete deal management system in a box, but that it was also something that extra streams of income, because I want people making Toolkit work and making Toolkit pay them, basically. So, for example, we've got some really fab PDF generating tools in Toolkit. So if you just imagine that you've got a deal in Toolkit, it doesn't kind of necessarily fit with your investing strategy, but literally at the click of a button, you can package that deal up into a really attractive PDF, which you could then send on or post on the web, or you know, if you've got a website, or through social media, to attract other investors. And then you could sell that deal literally at the click of a couple of buttons, and generate yourself valuable extra income. You can also analyze deals for other people. I mean, there are plenty of people out there who are still getting shafted by sharks. I mean, you know, like any business, there are some dodgy characters in property, and you know, there's a lot of, some of them have fallen by the wayside over the last couple of years, but there are still some dubious sourcing companies, shall we say, where, you know, the armchair investment idea is being sold very, very strongly. So you can actually offer a service using Toolkit to analyze deals on behalf of other people, and obviously charge them a fee for doing that. We've also the demo, but we've also built in some lead management tools. So when you're sourcing buyers, tenants, and tenant buyers, not only can you do that for yourself, but you can also do that for other people. So you start building up a database of these individuals. And then if you've got investors that you're working with who are working in a particular area of the country, then you can utilize the powerful tools in Toolkit to actually source those particular individuals on to other investors, and again, charge a fee for that. Okay, so what I'd like to do, with your permission now, is just do a very, very quick run through of Toolkit, show you some of the functions, and hopefully demonstrate how you could utilize Toolkit effectively in your business. So I'll just change screens. Okay, so just to check everybody can see this okay. John, can you see this okay?
Yeah, it's looking good, Mark. It won't have appeared on the broadcast probably yet, because we are a few seconds behind on that. And
sure.
Unfortunately, people, you will have noticed, folks, that there is a delay here, a few seconds behind the audio with the visual, so it's not ideal for this kind of demo, but please do bear with us. Let me just, thanks for the intro there, Mark. Let me just welcome a few folk on the webinar. We've got Peter from Chester there. Hi, Peter. We've got
evening, Peter.
We've got Fazila. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Fazila, in Essex. Patricia from Nottingham, and John in Glasgow. Hi there, folks. So yeah, as we go through the demo, feel free to type questions into the chat box there, and we'll try and answer those for you as we go along. Also, as we let you know on the emails, there is a year's free access to Toolkit up for grabs tonight. So keep on to the call right to the end, and we'll announce a winner at the end. And basically, what I want you to do is just pay close attention to the demo, and we'll ask you a question about that towards the end. And whoever gets that right, or the first person to get that right, we'll give the year's free access to. Okay, so let's crack on then. We've got a lot to cover still. So
fantastic. What sort of delay, just so I don't go racing ahead for people?
Delay is probably about 4 or 5 seconds. But just
okay, fine. I'll pay just so that we're not running ahead. If anybody finds that we are starting to get a little bit ahead of ourselves and the audio, the pictures aren't catching up with the audio, please, John and I know, and we'll just stop and we'll take a break and kind of let everything catch up and then carry on from there. Okay, right. So we're already logged into Toolkit. As I say, we've got Toolkit is a cloud solution. We do have a download, but in actual fact, we're probably going to phase the download out moving forward, purely and simply because cloud gives such greater usability, not only for the individual, but for people working in teams. So what I'll do, I'll just open an example that we have in Toolkit. So we start, basically, I'll just give you a very brief resume of Toolkit and the buttons here on the left-hand side. So as you can possibly see, the buttons are grouped. So we've got 6 buttons at the top, then 4, and then the 5 at the bottom. And that's very specific because they relate directly to the process. So the first 6 sections of Toolkit are a literal walkthrough of the due diligence process, basically. So we can start on screen 1, which is property details. That then takes us through to refurbishment costs. That then takes us to vendor details. So if you're working with distressed sellers, for example, if you've sourced sellers or sourced deals directly through your own website, so if you have a kind of I buy property type website, then you'll be working with sellers, and that section there enables you to capture their details. We then have a full financial suite, which we'll go into more detail during the demo, which breaks down into various different sections, and I'll highlight those as we go through. Then there's a section for recording your comparables, because obviously comparables are really, really important to make sure that the deal stacks up. And then if you've gone through the whole process, there is a section for actually physically making an offer. And we have built-in email facilities within Toolkit, which means that you can actually literally ping your offer out the moment that you've put the phone down from your potential potential vendor. So it makes it really powerful so that they have your details straight away. But again, we'll highlight that moving forward. Then moving on forward to the next section, there's a part that handles all your promotions. So any of you guys out there that are running goldmine ads or leaflet drops or even just postcards in your local newsagents, this section to handle all of that, and we'll go into more detail there. There's a section for capturing leads as they come in. So again, going back to what I said earlier about monetizing some of those details like buyers, tenants, tenant buyers, that sort of thing, that's where we capture all those details. There's a built-in address book, so a little bit like your Outlook or something like that, where you can have all your contacts in one location. The whole point of Toolkit is that you don't have to keep opening multiple programs here, there, and everywhere, having files and folders everywhere, trying to remember where you put folders and all this sort of stuff. Toolkit allows you literally to have everything in one place. And when I designed Toolkit, it was really important that I wanted to be no more than 2 clicks away from any vital piece of information. And hopefully during the demo I'll demonstrate that that's what we've achieved. There's a built-in calendar in Toolkit which will sync with Google Calendar. So during the course of the demo, I'll show you there are places throughout the whole of Toolkit where you can actually schedule appointments, you can schedule follow-up calls, you can schedule your self-views, all this sort of stuff. So you don't have to remember it. Just schedule it into Toolkit's calendar, and Toolkit will ping you a reminder whenever you need it. As a special bonus, there's a section where we've got resources. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but certainly I end up with lots and lots of sort of PDFs and things that I've captured from the web, or people orders here, there, and everywhere all over the computer, and I can't remember where they are. And a lot of the time I don't even remember that I've got them. So with resources, we've included a section there where you can actually store all that stuff so that you've got it really easily to hand. There's a section for recording your useful web links. I mean, I have quite a lot of web links saved in my browser. Again, I have to go to various different locations to get them. So again, there's a section in Toolkit for you to record those. Do excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. All well stuff in if you can't find it, so there's various ways to search and find the stuff, which again I'll demonstrate to you. There's a section for settings, so you can customize Toolkit to your specific branding, to your details, all that sort of stuff. And then we have links to various tutorials. So if after this webinar you want to go and you want to explore some of the tutorials, then again there's a link in Toolkit for you to allow you to do that. Toolkit, as I say, when we ran through the menu, is designed as literally as a step by step, as a walkthrough of the due diligence process. You can use each individual section independently, no problem whatsoever, but if you want to walk through the whole process, that's not a problem. So start on property details. This is, as you would assume, where you record property details. As I said, the toolkit is very intuitive, so we're not going to try and hide, special things in here. This is what you get. So this is where you record things like the address and blah blah blah, bits and pieces like that. You can store photographs of the property in here. We've made it really simple for you to be able to do that, literally by dragging and dropping them. So you can literally click and upload them, but you can just drag them across. So wherever you've got them, from a website or from a file on your computer, you can just drag them and drop them in here. So you record things like the property address. We've included a link for postcode. So if you click on the postcode there, that then takes you directly through to Royal Mail's postcode finder. As a lot of you probably already know, things like Rightmove only generally have a portion of the postcode, so you don't get the full postcode. But here you can just grab that really. We've included a map which is linked directly to Google Maps, and that's really important. It depends on your particular strategy. So, for example, if you're looking at HMOs and you're not quite sure where they are, where the actual deal is, this is really, really useful for you to quickly and easily see how close that property is in proximity to things like hospitals and universities and schools and all that sort of stuff. So, for example, if your strategy is HMOs, and you key in the address and you flick the map up and it says that that property is a good 5+ miles away from the local hospital or school, then that might not work for you. So you need to either decide whether that property is something that you want to pursue, or whether you could potentially package that up in some other way to sell to other people. We've included a series of drop downs because we want to again make it really quick, intuitive and simple and easy. So all you have to do is literally do the drop down and select the relevant option. Leasehold, not sure how many of you are investing in leasehold properties, but it's quite important with leasehold properties to understand the terms of the lease in terms of the actual amount of lease that's left and how that might impact on your investing. So, for example, what we've included here in Toolkit is, depending on the lease term, we've got a couple of little warnings that might flag up here. So, for example, if you're looking at a leasehold property and it has 60 years, for example, left on the lease, then it flags up saying, beware, this property has a short lease and may be unmortgageable, because depending on the mortgage company, but below about 65 years, a lot of mortgage companies won't look at a lease unless you've renewed it. So it then becomes unmortgageable. Again, if it's a little bit more than that, say 70 years, it still flags up, this property has a short lease that may be expensive to extend. And what that means is that you start to fall into an area called marriage value. So generally a lease under about 82 years then has a fee which is called a marriage value. So if you're looking to extend that lease, you then have to negotiate with the freeholder to extend the lease, and the freeholder may levy a quite substantial charge for extending the lease. If you're not aware of that when you go into a deal, that could be something that really catches you out further down the line and could be incredibly expensive, and could actually mean that you get into quite serious trouble. So we've included little things like that as you go through Toolkit to flag up these different bits and pieces. So in progress to go through, I mean, it's what you would expect. It's things like bedrooms, it's things like room sizes, bathrooms, garage garden, does it need work, do the windows need replacing, what's the central heating, does the boiler need updating, all that sort of stuff. All the way through Toolkit, we've also included sections for you to include your own notes. So, for example, if you're looking at a property on, say, something like Rightmove or Zoopla, you can easily just copy and paste the link to that property directly into the notes section, and then you've got it directly there to hand anytime you want to look it up. So included things in there like, for example, is the property listed with an agent? If it is listed with an agent, that then actually reveals sections for you to include those agents' details, what the property is listed at, things like the time it's been on the market. So, for example, if you're using Firefox and something like Property B, which is a fantastic plugin, it'll tell you how long it's been on the market. You may even get things like number of viewings from the agent. This is all valuable information that you need to record moving forward, because if it's been on the market for a little bit of time and it's had a number of viewings but it's still available, you know, there's some negotiation possibility. So if you've done the property details, that then takes you to refurbishment costs. We've included sections in refurbishment costs for the for pretty much all the general things of a refurb, but you can also add your own. in other, so you can be very specific there. We've made this section a checkbox system. So if you're using Property Investor Toolkit, say for sourcing property, to package deals and sell on to other investors, then the checkbox system is really, really great, because it means you can process properties really, really quickly. So all you need to do, if you're investing in a particular area, and you can customize this to wherever you are in the country, you can open up the settings menu, and you can actually put in your own costings here as your general rule of thumb. So if you're investing in, say, Newcastle, off the top of my head, you'll have a very good idea of how much a redecoration will cost, how much a new kitchen will cost, how much a new bathroom, how much a shower or boiler, all those type of things are. So you can actually physically put those into the settings of Toolkit, which means that you don't have to keep typing them in every single time. You can just use the checkbox system to actually click those. You can also edit them, that's no problem. You can manually type them in yourself, and you can edit those numbers as you're going through. So if you've got a specific property that may need particular requirements, not a problem, you can just put those in. And what Toolkit does, it basically auto-calculates as you're working through. So in real time, as you're working those numbers through, it calculates that total cost down at the bottom right-hand corner. So if you're looking at a property, for example, that may be 75k, and you've got a refurb cost of, say, 20 or 30,000 quid, then maybe that's not going to stack up for you, depending on your strategy. So the design of Toolkit is, if you are walking through the whole system, that it flags things up all the way through to make you say, well, actually, is this property going to be right for my strategy? If it's not, ditch it and move on to the next one. So again, it's this idea of saving and creating you time is your most valuable asset. And so that's what Toolkit's designed to do. So assuming that that's fine, that then takes you through to a section for recording all the vendor's details. So if you're working directly with a distressed seller, so if you have a website for creating leads, which is a kind of like I buy property type website, this is where you can record the details of the vendor, so details of their mortgage, who their mortgage is with, their interest rates, their outstanding balance, whether there's any borrowing on the property. That's really important, of course, to understand if there is secured borrowing on the property, because if there is secured borrowing, even if the mortgage looks good, the secured borrowing could cause you a problem moving further forward. So again, if you know that information at this stage, you can make a judgment call on this deal as to whether it's going to actually stack up for you moving forward. If it's not going to stack up for your strategy, can you then package that in some way to sell to someone else and earn a fee off it, basically? If it doesn't work in any of those contexts, you know you can drop it straight away, and you don't need to spend any more time, effort, and valuable resource on it. If it is you through to the financials section, and what we've done with the financials section is that we've basically extrapolated a deal across 3 different scenarios. So the numbers that you put into the purchase mortgage field side are then automatically pulled through the entire suite. You can then edit them in each individual section, no problem whatsoever, and that doesn't affect the numbers you put in the first instance. But what we wanted to do, again, this idea of saving you time, saving you effort, is to make sure that when you type them in the first instance, if those numbers aren't going to change, that then is extrapolated through. So if we just take a moment to look at this deal, which we've got open here. So we've got a current market value of 150,000. We've got a purchase price of 98, which is roughly about 30% below market value. Our refurbishment costs have been automatically pulled through for us from the refurb section, so we don't need to worry about that. This then gets you to look at things like legal fees. All the way through, incidentally, we've included some little help bubbles. I don't know whether you guys can see this. There may be a little bit of a delay here, but if you scroll over, it will give you some information or more information about that particular field and what you need to put into that field. So if we just work with first purchase mortgage, and we're looking down here, we filled in. So we're looking to buy 98,000 on 150k value property. We've got all our numbers put in. We're looking at a loan to value of 75%, which is here. We've got a rental income of about £115 a week on this particular property, and we've got a mortgage repayment of 5%. Mortgage rates are really good at the moment. Obviously, if you're working directly with your broker, they'll be able to give you the most up-to-date rates, and those rates change almost weekly, as I'm sure lots of you know. I would always recommend to work on a basis that's above your current mortgage rate, because, as we all know, base rates will go up. That is an absolute given. They can't go anywhere but up. It may take 18 months, 2 years for that to happen, but a deal on a variable mortgage rate, particularly, and it jumps in 2 years' time by 2%, if your numbers are tight going in, they could cripple you in 2 years' time. So it's really important for you to understand that moving forward. So we're working on a base of 5% here. On this example, we've got management fees of 10%, we've got operating costs of 10%, we've got miss at 20%, which are things like ground rent and bits and pieces like that. As you can see, Financial Suite, it asks a simple question: does it wash its face? Which basically means, does it stack up? And it says yes or no. And in this instance, it says yes, and it is positively cash flowing you £72.42 a month, which is great, but it's okay. It's positive cash flow. More importantly, does the stack up? And in this case, again, it says yes. You will need to speak to your broker about the percentage, the rental calculation percentage, because it's no longer just based on a 125% as it used to be in old days. There is also a percentage fee attached to that 125%, so it needs to be worked out accurately on both of those numbers. But we've put in 4.99, which is a fairly average percentage at the moment, but that can change. So do make sure that you check with your broker what your product, your mortgage product or your mortgage company is looking for at that particular time. And then if we scroll right to the bottom, we're looking at gross and net yield. Gross yield basically is a little bit of an anomaly. Gross yield equals annual rent divided by income, or by property price, I should say, rather. And remember the old adage that gross rent is vanity and net yield is sanity, which is basically the equivalent of cash is king. So you've got a gross yield on this of 6.10%, but the net yield is less than 1%. So in actual fact, looking at this deal, although it's cash flowing positive in the first instance, it's yielding you less than you could probably get by putting your money into a high yield bank account. Your return on investment on this is 1.9%, and you've got a price to rent ratio of 16. But what is more important is that you need to understand where your position is from a remortgage perspective before you ever lay one penny piece of your money on the table. So that's why we've designed Wash Its Face in this way. So we've got all the numbers from purchase mortgage. That's all pulled across. We're doing a bit of refurb and renovation. After refurb and renovation, we're assuming that it's elevated the property by up to 160. Not a great elevation in terms of the investment that you put. That's flagging up to you, well, actually, am I putting more refurb investment in this than the property is worth? So again, it's flagging these things as you go through all the time to remind you, whether you're a newbie or whether you're a professional investor who's done it for a long time. And let's face it, you know, as professional investors, there is a danger of becoming a little bit complacent. And so Toolkit is taking that emotion out of the thing and just reminding everybody every step of the way, well, you know, is this actually working? Is it working for your strategy? So it's getting you to question your strategy all the way through. So if we look at these numbers on a refurb, so exactly the same numbers that we had on purchase mortgage. The difference, of course, here is that we have a redemption fee on our mortgage. In this instance, it's $14.50. On that, so be aware of your redemption fee when you go into the deal. So same low value, we've got a mortgage release of 42, well, nearly 43,000, equity in the property of nearly 37,000. But we have money left in the deal of over 3,000, which is not bad, not too bad in this market. The payback on that, based purely and simply on our rental income, means that we will never get that money back. So in this scenario, it says it does not pay back. This is the period it will take to recover your money left in the deal based on your cash flow. So that's not good. So we've got the same cash flow. Our remortgage is probably going to be a little bit more expensive, so we've got 6% there. Other fun, that's where if you have borrowed money or you're working with JV partner and you have to pay that back on a monthly basis. So you have to put your interest in there on that borrowed or JV partner money. If it's less than your mortgage rate, it will automatically throw out the balance into the money left in deal balance. Now that is actually calculating based on your current mortgage rate the cost to you if it's your money. So if you have your money left in that deal, that is how much it's costing you based on your existing mortgage rate of 6% in this scenario in that deal. You can then edit that, so you can make it 0 if you want, if you're not interested in cost. But if we're down here, what we then see is suddenly we go from a £72 cash flow positive to a cash flow negative of over £230 a month. And it clearly says it doesn't wash its face. More importantly, if we scroll down even further there, we've got rent cover, and that's not achieved either. So if you've bought this property or you've gone into the deal based purely and simply on the first purchase details, you aren't going to be able to remortgage this property in 6 months. You're not going to be able to pull out your money. More importantly, if you're working with a JV partner, you're not going to be able to pull out their money, which means that it is not only going to cost you physically out of your pocket £230+ a month, it means you could actually be in serious trouble with the money that you put in and you've left. So that's why Wash Its Face is set up in this way. picture, not only going in, but how you're going to get your money back out moving 6, 8, 10, 12 months down the line. Assuming that is all about buy and hold, so it's about buy to let, basically. So this is where you put in things like your void periods. We're assuming 20 days. In your particular area, it might be more, it might be less. You need to understand that. You need to make sure that you have an accurate idea of the spread of what's available in terms of rental property in your area and how that might affect your void periods. Because your void periods, of course, could mean the make or break again. Here we've also included things like property appreciation, rent increase and expenses increase. We've also included an initial refurb. So, for example, if you're buying a distressed property, excuse me, if you're buying a distressed property, obviously you can't rent it out in a distressed state. You need to refurb it. So that's where you put in your refurbs there. And we also have things like annual maintenance costs. So things like your excuse me, things like your annual gas certificate and bits and pieces like that. If you're renting out HMOs, you'll definitely need to do a repaint and a little bit like that on an annual basis. So that's where you put those things in. That then automatically extrapolates that out at the bottom for you. And what we've done here is we've actually included a scroller that takes all of this information all the way up to 75 years. So if your goal is to build a portfolio for your pension, for example, you can use the scroller and see how that property may perform excuse me, over a given period of time. It also gives you your breakout. If you have money left in the deal, what it actually does is it tells you how long it's going to take for you to break even and be completely cash clear of that deal moving forward. So I hope you can see that. That then takes us into a buy and flip scenario. So taking exactly the same numbers and extrapolating that out across a buy and flip. So you may have a deal that doesn't necessarily wash its face in terms of a buy and hold, but it may actually stack up as a buy and flip. So this then extrapolates all those numbers out for you automatically and tells you what your profit or loss may be on that deal, what your return on investment may be. And again, if you're working with a JV partner or you're using other people's funds, it's really important for you to be able to show this and say, well, actually, if we use this deal and we use it in this way, this is what we're looking to achieve at the end of that period. So that's a fun. If that's all looking hunky-dory and still stacking up for you, that then the comparables section, and this is where you record comparable properties. So we've included things like links to mouse price, net house price, Rightmove, all those type of things. This is where you can go and you can grab those comparable properties. And again, we've made it really simple, so you can highlight those properties in those websites and just drag them and drop them straight into Toolkit. And again, that forms part of your overall due diligence. So we've got comparables for sold, for sale, for rent, and for local housing authority rents. So if you're looking to rent to DHS or tenant, so if you're looking to work with that type of tenant, this is where you can record those details and make sure it's stacking up for you. If that's all looks hunky-dory, then that then takes you into the offer details. And we have built-in email facilities within Toolkit, so you can literally ping out an offer straight away. So, for example, if you have just been speaking to a distressed seller and you've worked through the process, you can then email them directly from Toolkit with your offer in writing, with all your details on, so that they have your contact details straight away. And within here you can record details of your offer, how hot you felt the lead might be, the response from the vendor, the date of the response, and because Toolkit has a built-in calendar as well, you can actually schedule things like acknowledgements, follow-up calls. You can even book appointments and book viewings and reviews and all that sort of stuff directly into Toolkit, so you don't have to remember this stuff. And Toolkit syncs with Google Calendar. So if you're using Google as your main email and database system, you can sync Toolkit directly with your Google Calendar, and all the follow-up calls and reminders and bits and pieces that you've scheduled in Toolkit will flag up in your calendar. Toolkit will also send you an email to remind you of these bits and pieces. So, for example, if you're putting out offers on a weekly basis and you're processing deals on a regular basis, then you can schedule things in there like reviews and reminders, and you don't have to remember it. You don't have to remember which property it is, because Toolkit will then ping you an email when you've set that schedule for you to come back and revisit this information. So that's the main due diligence section of Toolkit. We then move into the second section of Toolkit, which handles sort of promotions, leads, contacts, all that sort of stuff. So if we go and we have a very quick look at the promo section. The promo section is designed for people who are running advertising, goldmine adverts, leaflet drops, even adverts in local news agents, that sort of stuff. So if you guys are doing that on a regular basis, this is where you can record that information. So again, a little bit like property, this is where you can record your marketing. So for example, if you are targeting say sellers, and you've got a weekly ad in the local newspaper, this is where you can record all those details. You can record when it was booked, the number of insertions that you paid for. So say we went for 5, when it was due to run from and when it was due to run to, and it cost you, say, 200 quid to put those adverts in over 5 weeks. If you've got discount on that, great. You can put that discount in there. So say you negotiated that 200 quid down to 150, so you've got a £50 discount. So over the course of that 5 weeks, what you can do is then record the number of responses to your advertising. So if, for example, say you got 6 responses from your advertising, Toolkit then automatically works out your hit ratio and the cost per hit. So for those 6 responses for the advert that you ran in your local newspaper for 5 weeks, that cost you £25 every single response. Why is this valuable? Okay, this is really valuable to you because you can very quickly and easily see over the course of a period of time what's working for you and what's not. And you can drop what's not working for you very quickly, and you can concentrate on what is working for you. So where you're actually having a particular cost to generate a lead, if that cost is far more expensive than the deal you're getting through, it makes sense not to do that and concentrate on the advertising that you are getting the best response from. Again, in this section you can record details of the advert. You can even actually include an image of the advert if you want, and you can store notes. In promotion as well, if you're working with a team or you're outsourcing your lead generation, this is where you can set targets for your team. So for example, if you set targets, say you want your team to hit a number of people in a particular field on a weekly basis, so you want them to speak to 10 sellers, or you want to speak to 10 landlords, or you need to speak to 10 estate agents a week, this is where you can actually record the real-time stuff. So if you set a target and you want to speak to, say, 10 estate agents, but actually that week you only managed to speak to 6, this is where you can record that detail with notes, so you can record all the notes as well, so you can build up a picture of how successful your team is out on ground working for you on a week-to-week basis. So if somebody is consistently falling behind their targets, then that gives you a really clear picture of what you need to do in terms of reviewing that person. Maybe they're really great at speaking to estate agents, but they're really bad at speaking to distressed sellers. So that gives you a really good illustration of where you can actually make best use of that person in your team moving forward, so that you can then concentrate them in an area of expertise. So if they're great at speaking with estate agents, you can get them to speak to estate agents, and then get somebody else in your team who is much better at speaking with distressed sellers to concentrate on just distressed sellers. And you record the data as you move forward. The next section is all about recording the details of the leads that come to you, because obviously if you're spending valuable money and time advertising for leads, you need to be able to record those leads as they come in. So what we've done with the lead section is we split it into sellers, buyers, tenants, and tenant buyers. And each of these sections is designed so that you get to ask the relevant questions, so in real time. So for example, if someone picks up the phone and rings you and says, I'm interested in your goldmine ad that you put out about tenant buyers, tell me a bit more about it, you can literally go through and record their details in real time as you're talking to them. And even better still, at the end of that conversation, when you put the phone down, you can then email them straight away all the details of that conversation, and they have your contact details directly straight in their inbox, literally within seconds. So can you imagine how powerful that would be if you're talking to a distressed seller, for example, compared to somebody else, and you're able to ping them your details straight away? How much more powerful that's going to be for you. The next section then deals with, it's an address book. So if you're using something like Outlook or Google or one of those type of programs, it works in exactly the same way. The idea is to get all your information in one place, again, so you're not having to open multiple programs, you're not having to go here, there, and everywhere all over your computer. So you can import your existing data straight into Toolkit. We've made it really simple. All you have to do is export it as a CSV and then import it straight in here. You can add as many sections as you want. We've included 8 of the most common sections, and you can store details under any of these sections as you go through. As I say, Toolkit's got a built-in calendar. You can schedule things as you've seen as you go through Toolkit, but you can also go straight into the calendar and you can schedule things directly from the calendar. It has a day, a week, and a month view, and all the usual functionality you would expect from a calendar. This also syncs with Google Calendar. So if you have Google and you're using Google as your main platform, this will sync directly with Google Calendar, so you don't have multiple calendars on the go at the same time. Moving down to the final 5 buttons in the toolkit, we've got a section for resources. This is designed for you to save whatever bits and pieces that you want that are relevant to your investing your investing business. We've made it really simple. Again, it's drag and drop. So, for example, if you've saved a really interesting PDF from or someone sent you a really interesting PDF, you can just drag it and drop it straight in here. As a very special bonus and as a thank you to all the people that sign up for Toolkit, we have included a complete set of contracts to get you started. So we've got section notices, we've got an inventory, we've got guarantor letters, we've got new rent letters, we've got standing orders. Everything you need to get yourself off the ground is here in Toolkit as a freebie. These contracts alone are worth more than the price of the software, but we wanted to include this so that you can actually get yourself started straight away. Next section is about recording web links. I'm sure, like me, you have lots and lots and lots of different web links that you've gathered over the years in your browser. Instead of having to go to different sources, different browsers, all that sort of stuff, you can actually record your web links directly into Toolkit and have them straight away at your fingertips by hand. Again, Toolkit has been designed so you're never more than 2 clicks away from any information you ever need to have. So it's okay having all this information in here, but how do you find it? So what we've done is we've included various search facilities. There is a main search facility which you can access directly here on the main navigation, and you can click into any of the sections as you go through. There's also a drop down, so when you're in search you can actually just dip between search criteria. And all you need to do is literally, when you've found the property you want, click on it and it opens all that detail again for you. So the idea is, with Toolkit, once you've got a few deals in there, you can use an existing deal as a template. So you don't have to run through all the information every single time. So just opening an existing deal as a template, tweak it around, tweak the numbers, tweak the address, and then you can resave that as a new deal into the database and have it there literally at your fingertips, so you can use it again and again and again and again. It's the due diligence down to literally minutes as opposed to hours. In the second, it's all about you, it's not about us. And so it was really important for me to include bits in Toolkit where you can customize it. At the moment, it's got our branding, it's got our logo, but you can actually utilize your own branding and customize that in the settings menu. So you can upload your own logo, you can key in all your contact details, your phone number, your email, all those bits and pieces, and then save it into settings. And every time you send out an email from Toolkit, it will have your branding. So everybody that receives an email from Toolkit will have your logo, your brand, your contact details. And that's really important. We've also included in settings things like the email acknowledgement template. We've given you a template. You can edit that, you can change that, you can do whatever you want with it to customize it again. Stamp duty settings, we've got the most up-to-date stamp duty. That may change moving forward. We will always let you know, and we will always give you a customized update of that, but you can change that as you want. Currency, depending on where you're working. Toolkit, of course, is designed for UK investors primarily, but you can also use Toolkit to source and sell and buy property overseas, and so you can just change the currency here very, very quickly to see how that's going to work for you. And pretty much that's Toolkit in a nutshell. Obviously there's a lot more functionality in there that we haven't had a chance to look at, but that hopefully will give you a very good overview of the actual functionality of Toolkit and how it works. So bear with me whilst we just go back to the slide show. Sorry, I'll just find the right slide because we don't want to go back through all of those slides. This is just a little bit of feedback for people who are using Toolkit. Debbie Dorrans is, as it says there, a professional property sourcer. She's also a full-time investor herself. She uses Toolkit in webinars and to attract investors. So she uses the functionality in Toolkit, particularly PDF functionality in Toolkit, to actually send out deals to attract investors. She then walks investors through the deal using Toolkit in real time. And she has found Toolkit invaluable. As it says it there, it's helped her business so much. So what was life like before Toolkit? Well, pretty much what a lot of people are still doing. So it's all very disjointed. It's all very paper-based. Multiple websites, multiple spreadsheets here, there, and everywhere. Nothing actually speaks to anything else. Very frustrating. Lots of time consuming opening things, saving files, all this sort of stuff. If you don't have a very robust system in place to record sellers and deals and all that sort of stuff, it's really easy to lose out on deals, particularly if you're making offers and then you're have a break in between where you made the offer and following up and reviewing that offer, which, you know, let's face it, could be 3 months, could be 6 months. Is your system able to cope at the moment with what you've got? If you've put an offer out 6 months ago, how do you know when to review that offer? How do you know what that offer was? How easy is it for you to find the property details that relate to that offer? And are you able to just log in straight away at the click of a button and be able to review and revise that offer and send out a new offer? Very, very powerful, very, very important. Life on. Hopefully you've got a little bit of a snippet about how Toolkit can really help your business. If you're serious about making property your business, and as I said earlier, you know, that's only going to get harder moving forward. We've all seen the press, we've all seen how things are moving in our local area. If you're based in London, that is moving at an amazing pace at the moment. I mean, I'm speaking to agents personally, and they won't even let you through the door unless you have your finance in place, unless you have an offer on a property you're selling, all that sort of stuff. The other thing, of course, is, you know, it's really designed to stop you getting into bad deals, so you get a full picture of the whole thing before you ever put one penny piece of your money on the table. And that's really, really important, because it's so easy to get it wrong. And if you get it wrong in property, it could have devastating effects. I mean, basically, looking at the stats, I don't know whether you guys know, but the most common feature of divorce in the UK is over money problems. So if you get yourself into trouble on property, it's not that easy to get out, and it could have devastating effects, not just for you, but for your whole family. Okay, John, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mark. Yes, how you doing?
You are.
Okay. Thank you for valiantly completing the demo there, Mark, and apologies once again to everybody still listening who for the technical difficulties that we had, and thank you for sticking with us, those are still there. So yeah, so I hope you were listening closely. For the contest, very simple one. It was on one of the screens in Toolkit. You can gauge how hot a lead is, and that scale went from 0 up to what number. So 0 up to what number. Just put your answer in the chat box, but please make sure you put in your name and your email with your answer. If you don't know the answer, then just guess. Put your name, your email, and your guess into the chat box. And once again, the screen that measured how hot your lead is went from 0 up to what number. So I'm just looking for a number. So put your name, your email, and your answer into the box there, and we'll see who's won that. Also, any additional questions on what Mark has gone through, pop that into the box as well, and we'll see if we can get an answer for you on that. So let's see if we have any answers. Mark, I tell you what, there is a little bit of a delay in these coming through, so if you just want to do a couple more slides, then
yeah, sure.
We'll announce the winner after a couple of slides. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's just assume these next couple of slides are the drum roll up to the reveal. So basically, what could not having this cost you? Okay. Well, hopefully we've illustrated in just this very, very quick run through of Toolkit the value that it can not only add to your business but can also save you. I mean, as I said in the sum up just a moment ago, you know, if you make a mistake in property, it could cost you a lot of money. But not only money, it could cost you so much more in terms of your relationship, your family, your credit rating, for example. I mean, you know, credit rating is such an important key thing in everybody's modern day life these days. And you have to protect that almost like gold, because your credit rating is so valuable. If you don't know your credit rating, I'd really, really recommend you look that up straight away. There are various companies out there that you can access. We're not affiliated with in any way whatsoever, so I'd just recommend that you kind of go on, you check your credit rating and make sure that your credit data is accurate, because even things like a misspelled address or a name that's misspelled could actually affect your credit rating these days. So it's really, really important that you kind of have a handle on that. I check mine on a monthly basis. I subscribe to a service that allows me access to that, and I can quickly and easily see how my credit rating is being affected in real time. The other issue, of course, is that we live in an age where data is really, really valuable, so people are stealing identities left, right, and centre all across the world. Again, if you have a system where you can check your credit rating, you'll also be able to see if your rating is detrimentally affected, and you'll be able to identify that really, really quickly, and you can jump on it, because if somebody has stolen your identity and they are using your identity, that could have massive impact on your credit rating. So I'd strongly recommend anyone at the end of this webinar to just go on, do a little bit of search on Google. There are numerous companies out there that you can check your credit rating, but I'd strongly recommend, if you don't do that, if you haven't done that, then I'd recommend doing that. But hopefully we've kind of illustrated that, you know, Toolkit could, you know, even if Toolkit saved you from getting involved in one of these deals, it's going to pay for itself. But the point of Toolkit is that we've designed it so that you can actually start generating cash from Toolkit as well. So even if you're not necessarily actively investing at the moment, you know, and there's lots of people who are still involved in property and they're not actually investing themselves at the moment, you know, you can use Toolkit to actually generate revenue for yourself. So you can use Toolkit to generate revenue in terms of packaging deals, sourcing deals, packaging leads, packaging buyers, tenants, all that sort of stuff, and you can still use Toolkit to sell those things on and charge a fee. And depending on, you know, the deal, that could be, you know, a couple of thousand quid easily. on a package deal. I've seen deals that are selling for £8,000 to £10,000 when they're packaged and qualified. So if you're using Toolkit in that sense, it's a no-brainer. Which edition best suits you? Well, it really depends on your circumstances. As I say, we've got a desktop edition, so if you are predominantly working on your own and you're working from home or from an office, possibly the desktop is going to be okay for you. Probably better if you're in an area where you've got a bad connection or your internet's not great. And you want that consistency, I'd recommend the desktop. But to be honest, anywhere where you've got a really good broadband connection or you want to expand your business, I'd really encourage you to look at the Cloud Edition. The Cloud Edition offers so much more scope because you can have a Cloud Edition for yourself. You can extend your cloud so that you can incorporate additional people, so a broker or a JV partner or someone you're working with, say even the other end of the country. So you can actually add users to your Cloud Edition for a small fee, and that will expand your business enormously. Which basically is the network edition. So you can either have a combination of desktop and cloud, or you can have pure cloud, and that will expand your network across the whole country. In fact, across the whole world. I mean, the idea of the cloud, of course, is that you can work with people even outside the UK. So if you're really good at processing deals, but you hate the bit about sourcing deals, you could use your cloud account to actually outsource that even to someone overseas, and you could set a criteria and you could say, I want these type of properties in this type of area that stack up at this type of thing, and you could actually outsource that for pennies to other people in another country who can then troll Rightmove, who can troll Zoopla, who can troll Prime Location, and start putting this stuff into Toolkit, and then you just need to spend time looking at the ones that actually fit your criteria. So that's where it becomes really, really powerful. A little bit more feedback. Claire and Adrian, they're professional investors. They also run a bridging company. They also run some insurance stuff. But they've been using Toolkit for a little while. Hopefully, you guys can see the feedback here from them and the value that it's actually added to their business. Which again, you can utilize, add to your business as well, and extend your business. Andrew Priestley. Andrew Priestley is Dan Priestley's dad. If any of you are familiar with the Key Person of Influence mentor program, Dan is the architect and designer of that. He's written a couple of books on entrepreneurship. Fantastic entrepreneurs. The whole family are entrepreneurs. Andrew came to me. I've known Andrew for a little while. We've developed a couple of products together. But Andrew came to me. He had a couple of deals that he found in Bristol. He thought were really good deals. He'd negotiated. We thought was a really good price. We ran them through Toolkit, and neither of them actually stacked up. Neither of them even washed their faces. He was literally about to sign on the dotted line and commit himself to over £100,000 of his own money on these two deals, and it was going to take him on average about 20 years to get his money back once we'd run these through Toolkit. So as he says there, he saw the immense value in Toolkit literally from just running these two deals. Hazel DeClue, she's a mentor. Some of you may have come across Hazel before, but she now uses Toolkit with her mentees. She's found it incredibly valuable herself for investing, but she also, as I say, uses it with her mentees. So anyone that's going through her training, they literally have Toolkit to pick up and start working from day one, so they're hitting the ground running. As I mentioned earlier, Toolkit has a document set included, including some ASTs, guarantor forms and stuff. That's a freebie. We'll give that to you. Those contracts, if you went out and you actually asked a solicitor to create those contracts for you, probably cost you about 1,800 quid. So we've included that as a freebie. John, I'll let you take over from here.
Yep. Okay. So as the fast action bonus available for just the next 15 minutes.
Okay.
Since we had.
John, I've just got to dip out for 2 minutes, and then I'll be back with you.
Okay. So, yeah, since we had a bit of technical difficulty earlier on, this will be available for on the replay as well for anyone who missed it. So the Secret Strategy Sessions is really some fly in the wall recordings of coaching sessions with one of my private clients, and there's just loads of real good nuggets of information in there that you can easily action and put to work into your business straight away if you're using lease options already. Lots of info about marketing for property and various other tips in there as well. So you'll get that. So let me just check and see if there's any. Oh yeah, I will say on the competition, the first person through with the correct answer for that was Sally. So congratulations, Sally. Mark will be contacting you very shortly to get you set up on Toolkit. You've also asked about sourcing properties. There's a good amount of information about sourcing properties on propertyinvestmentblueprint.com. I'll send you the appropriate place on that, Sally, as well. So is that you back, Mark?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, that's me. Just announced the competition that Sally is our lucky winner. Over to you.
Excellent. Okay. Mining Toolkit. So the idea of Toolkit, a couple of years back, I set some very specific criteria. For me, it had to be affordable. Having invested particularly in education, and I don't regret investing in education. Education is the best investment you can make. But for me, I didn't then want to invest in something that was really expensive. So Toolkit had to be affordable. As I manuals, I hate having to look at instructions, all that sort of stuff. So Toolkit had to be really intuitive. I wanted something that people could pick up straight away and start adding value to their businesses and start generating income straight away. It had to encapsulate the whole process. Anyone that's been on any form of education, they kind of do the sort of purchase price, market value, purchase price, mortgage, rent. Oh, doesn't it look great? Well, that's not the reality of the scenario. So I wanted something that really captured the whole process and really crunched on those numbers, which basically takes us on to point 4, which is crunch the numbers. So I wanted to make sure that all the detail was in there so that we didn't miss things like mortgage redemption, for example. A lot of people don't even factor that in when they do a mortgage, a remortgage, for example. There is a redemption, and some of those fees can be quite expensive. So, for example, a mortgage arrangement fee now could be, 3-4% of the mortgage, which could be thousands of pounds. So, if you're not factoring that in the first instance, things could become seriously sticky very, very quickly. And basically, it had to be really practical and simple to use. So, again, it just needed to be really, really intuitive and step by step. So, Cloud Edition. So, retail price on Cloud is £29 a month. But for you guys, we're offering a very special offer. So for the early bird, what we're doing is we're offering you a 25% below market value discount. So using property analogy there as a below market value. So what we're doing is we're offering all you guys who jump on board with us just £22 a month. So it's really affordable. It's not something that's going to break the bank, even if you're just starting out and you're just starting on your property journey, and you don't have a big budget, and there's not a massive upfront investment. So just £22 a month. Along with, I'm offering you a full money back guarantee. So if you try out Toolkit and you feel it's not for you for some reason, no problem. With the Cloud Edition, we're not tying you into long contracts. It's almost as pay as you go. So you just sign up, you register, you get your discount, and if at any point you want to stop using Toolkit, all you need to do is let us know. We'd like to know why it's not working for you so that we can improve it and obviously make sure that we make it as good as we possibly can for you. The other thing that I'm going to offer just tonight, because I don't normally offer this out, but just tonight because John and I have spoken about it before and he wanted to offer you guys something quite special. I'm 110% committed that Toolkit will add value to your business. So what I'm going to offer you tonight is, if for any reason after 12 months of using Toolkit it hasn't either saved you or made you the value of the subscription, I will refund that 12-month subscription, no questions asked. That's just tonight. I don't offer that normally, but I'm confident that Toolkit will actually add real value to your business. So if you use Toolkit in the way that it's been designed, if it doesn't save you or it doesn't make you the cost of the subscription, I'll give you that money back. So just to reiterate, that's £22 a month. If you subscribe for 12 months, as I say, that guarantee is in place. If you fall short of the 12 months, obviously we don't offer that full refund there. But if you use Toolkit, I will guarantee you that you won't be out of pocket at the end of 12 months, one way or another. So this is the code. If you follow the link, that will take you through to our main website. Click on the Cloud Edition, and if you use this specific code during checkout, that will get you your 25% discount. And as a very special freebie, for the first 10 people who register tonight, and tonight only, just 10 people, I will do a free 15-minute Skype, a personal Skype, with each of those 10 people to help you really get started, to get you kick-started with the software so that you hit the ground running. So that's a very, very special offer just for the first 10 people, and that's a free Skype with me personally at a time that's convenient for both of us, and we'll just run through everything and I'll help you get started straight away. Okay, John, do we have any questions?
Great stuff, Mark. I'll just check on questions just a sec. Sally's saying yay. Thanks very much. So yeah, well done, Sally. I'll be passing your email on to Mark so he can get you set up in the next couple of days. Just to reiterate, in order to get the discount and all the bonuses, then you must go through that URL there, propertywebinar.net/toolkit, and use the discount code. What was the discount code again, Mark? Do you have that?
Yep, I'll flick back to that. There we go. There's the discount code. But I'll email it to you, John, and you can email it out to all the people that have joined us tonight and spared their valuable time this evening to spend with us. So I'll make sure that you get the code in an email as well, and then those guys if there's any problem, you can just ping them straight out.
Great stuff. Okay. Let's just see if we have any questions.
Don't be shy, folks. Any questions you want to ask, just fire them across.
Okay. So someone's asking, is the desktop version being phased out? They would be keen to purchase the desktop license.
We're not phasing it out. No, we will still keep it up to date. The difference between the desktop and the cloud version is that obviously with the cloud version you can access it anywhere you want on the go. Desktop is obviously limited to the machine that you're running the desktop on. That's not to say that in future, if you want to upgrade your account, you can actually have a cloud account and a desktop account, and those will sync between the two of them. We're not phasing the desktop out, but the desktop is obviously more limited in terms of how you can use it compared to the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so desktop's still available, and of course you still get the bonus, the secret strategy sessions, recordings, and Mark's one-to-one if you're in the first 10 to order that. Okay, I think that might be it. Let me just refresh just to make sure. Okay, yeah, I mean your demo was extremely thorough, Mark. So I think that's probably covered everybody's questions.
Hopefully not boring though.
Not at all. Very very illuminating, I would say, and seriously for anyone who's new to the game, this is really gold dust for your sort of early stages in the business in terms of making sure that you don't make mistakes, because putting a foot wrong with your first couple of deals is enough to really set you off track and lose your money really. So as I say, if I'd had access to this in my early days, I would have jumped at it, because as Mark says, there really isn't anything else like it on the market. And also from if you're in this professionally as well, just the benefits in terms of streamlining your business and systemizing it is just incredible. When I was doing a lot of packaging and stuff, just having everything in one place would have been amazing, and being able to track the leads that you've got. I had this massive big folder full of just bits of paper, and it was just a nightmare. And you end up forgetting about leads, leads that could still be warm or hot, and they just get lost under the pile. So really very, very valuable.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, as I said earlier, the idea of Toolkit is you're never more than 2 clicks away from any vital piece of information that you need. And that was really important for me to design it from that perspective. And as I say, it was also really important that people could actually use Toolkit to leverage and start generating cash straight away. So if you are a newbie, or if you're just starting out on your property journey, Toolkit can really help you monetize that process. And again, like John says, if you're an experienced investor, Toolkit can open avenues of other revenue that you may not have explored so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really about leveraging all your potential assets and getting those multiple streams of property income that everyone talks about really working for you. I really like the bit about keeping track on your marketing. That's just so important. If you're spending money on marketing, or even just putting effort into marketing, it's so valuable to know how effective that is being, because if you don't have a handle on that, then it's like wandering about in the dark. You don't know where your money's going.
Well, you're absolutely right, John. I think highlighting that issue alone is really valuable, because it's really easy for us to kind of just concentrate on the results, but not actually concentrate on the process to get to the results. So, you know, anyone that's done advertising, and I've done lots of advertising over the years, not just property, but my other businesses as well, advertising is really expensive. So if you don't have a handle on the result of that advertising, it's really easy to kind of just lose that money. So kind of lose that money into the kind of ether, if you like. So from a business perspective, you really need to have a really firm handle on that. So, you know, recording that data into Toolkit is going to be so invaluable to you. I mean, even if nothing else, if it saved you spending another £1,000 on an advert that isn't really worth it, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the same token, if it's working, then you want to know which bit's working so you can put more money into that. So we've got one last question here. Someone's asking, is there any minimum contract term to get the £22 per month with the code?
No. Basically, we just work on a monthly basis. So if you sign up with the cloud, you're committed to a month, basically. If for some reason at the end of that month you don't feel it's right, we'd love to hear from you so that we can make sure that we can help you, but also help others. But there's no long-term contract. It's almost pay-as-you-go, basically.
Okay, well, there's your answer. The minimum is 1 month, which is pretty fair. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, Mark's obviously very keen to make sure that it works for everybody, and I'm sure that if there's something that it's not doing as you'd like, or if there's a feature that would be of use to you, then I'm sure Mark would want to know about that so that you can, you know, improve the software going forward.
Oh, totally. I mean, basically, the software, as I said earlier, it's not about us, it's about you guys, it's about the users. I mean, basically, my whole focus all the way through this whole process is all about how people can actually use it to leverage, because there's so many softwares out there. I mean, I've bought loads of software over the years that kind of sit on my computer and actually they don't deliver what I thought they were going to deliver for me, and they just kind of sit there and I pay for them and all this sort of stuff. I want a very proactive interaction with our user base. Toolkit for me over the next sort of 24 months is I want it to become the leading analysis tool in the marketplace, and we can only do that by working closely with our users. So I really, really value feedback from our users, and where we can help our users to leverage Toolkit to actually generate more cash for them, I'm really open for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've used many bits of software before, and you know, such a crucial thing about using software is the support. I remember one lettings sort of property management package that I used that I won't name. It would be a bit unfair because it was years ago, and they may be better now. But
don't name and shame, John.
No, the support was just painful. It was horrendous. You know, I mean, when you phoned up, you were on hold, and if you ever even got a reply, it was. Even their support was pretty useless. But yeah, I mean, I know that Mark really cares about his customers, and that you're going to get some good attention with the Toolkit team.
Completely. I guarantee that we'll answer you within 24 hours, if not within an hour. It depends on where we are in the day and where we're at, but my commitment is that you will always get an answer, and you'll get it as quickly as we can possibly deliver it to you.
Yeah, that's really important. Okay, we've got someone asking, can they access the cloud version on mobile devices, specifically iPad?
Yes, it is. It is tablet friendly. I mean, basically, it has been really designed as a sort of desktop solution. So there are functionalities, not because of the software, but because of tablet technology that you can't use, like drag and drop and those bits and pieces. So it is more limited, but what you can do, and what I'd recommend anyone that's using a tablet, is that you do your initial research on your laptop, your desktop, your Mac, whatever you do, and then you access it from your tablet on the move, and fill in details as you're going. So hopefully that will give you the best of both worlds.
Great stuff. Okay, I think we're just about ready to wrap up. Just noticing that you know, we've run over a bit tonight because of technical difficulties and stuff. So thank you very much for bearing with us. Oh yeah, and just one final thing on the special. You know, once you've ordered and you want to claim the property investment blueprint secret strategy sessions, then just forward your receipt or your invoice to myself, and we'll get you access to that as well. So thank you very much, Mark, for you know, spending your time tonight showing us the software. It's been very, very illuminating, as I say, and I hope people have enjoyed that, whether or not they're going to take up your offer there. But thank you, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and you know, sorry again about the technical difficulties. It seems to be plaguing us ever since we started doing webinars, but I hope that going forward it's going to be a bit smoother.
No,
so,
I'd just like to reiterate that as well. Thank you guys so much indeed for bearing with us. I mean, your time is incredibly valuable. We appreciate your time and we respect the value of your time. So all those guys that jumped on after we'd had our little bit of an outage, thank you again so much for that. And again, if there's any questions, any problems, don't hesitate. Just contact us.
Great stuff. Okay. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks everybody, and good night.
Yeah. Good night. Good night, everyone.